Well, did you want to like sit next to Jessica?
Yeah. Okay.
No, you're fine. You speak Persian, Sebastian? Don't you speak Persian?
No, I'm fluent in Arabic. But Persian sounds nice. Like,
Are you kidding? Persian is beautiful language. I'm sorry? You used to know Farsi? Oh, you had a Farsi boyfriend? You had a Persian boyfriend? How could you contaminate my people like that?
Well, it helps. I dated the oldest of three boys in the Persian family. And
You did what?
I dated the oldest boy in the
Good morning.
Persian family. And the mom was like, well, you have to learn Farsi. And I was like,
So you left them or they left you?
I left them. Thank God. So I'm sorry, but they're one of those.
First you destroy my country, then you steal the oil, then you like hang out with my people.
Boys who were like, he only used Persian.
Well, do you know how to cook Persian food?
I do, but I don't really cook it that often because.
Your boyfriends are not Persian.
No, I just don't cook them.
You're a woman.
Oh, wow. No, I know how to cook. I know
Tia?
how to cook. I just don't cook often.
Hello, Jeremy.
Groceries are like that.
The what?
Groceries are.
Just go in there with a backpack, no one's looking, there are no cameras, you put a few things in your bag and you get out. What's so difficult about that?
I used to do that when I was underage.
You're still underage.
I'm
Ah.
21. Like,
That's underage.
Yeah, but not in the eyes of the law. Like, I'm literally, I can go to big girl jail. Like, I'm not, I'm not trying to go to big girl jail.
Ah.
Ready for questions?
Nathan, are you okay? You want a hug? Because Jessica can hug you. I don't touch men.
Whoa.
Tired?
You think a woman's job is being in the kitchen?
Yes.
I felt that.
I'm sorry?
I kind of felt that was the vibe.
No, I don't really. I mean, look.
Or gender roles, whatever that gender is.
You know, human beings for the most. Do you have a dog?
I used to, 15 years.
It's, you know, one of the things about dogs, we're not a pet culture. You know, we kind of just like dismiss them, we eat them. I mean, that's the big city life problem, you know, that you're far too distant from nature, so animals are just like out there, you know, and just in case they come around you, you just do whatever you can to get rid of them, poison them, kick them, beat them, eat them. One of the things about dogs, especially dogs, is that if dogs are not trained well, if you don't give them a role, if you don't give them a purpose, they're going to be profoundly unhappy animals. And eventually, as an owner, you'll just return them, you know, to Costco. I don't want this dog. Human beings are very much the same. I mean, that's one of the difficulties of like revolutions. All the social structure, all the political structure, they all just fall apart. And, you know, kind of like Occupy movement. You know, people are walking, there are these tiny little shops owned by tiny little people, and people just destroy them, you know. And for that moment in time, you realize everybody suffers. And so when you live in a culture where it creates a good amount of confusion, you know, inside people's psyche, and it no longer provides a map as to what role you should play in life, then it's going to take you some time, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 years to find a script that fits you. And then you read the script, you may even be on the stage and play that particular script, only to realize a few years later that it's the wrong script. So right now, I think since the middle of maybe early 20th century, the shift in the culture has also created this confusion amongst people. I mean, look, to be honest, it's something we talked about yesterday in my ethics class, which is, this entire structure that we have in this world, it's man-made. Not human-made, man-made. One gender, and it's a man. You may not like it, but it's created by us men. And what happens is that women, for the most part, were considered to be profoundly holy and sacred. I mean, you consider Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, consider, for example, the belly dancing of sorts. What all have in common, the prostitution in the ancient world, what they all have in common is that there is something profoundly beautiful about women, and they can't be touched by the physical world, the world made by men. And so their role in life was very specific. Your home is your kingdom. If you want meaning, find that meaning in the kids that come out of you. And that's wonderful. I mean, my mom is like 80. She calls me 50 times a day. I tell Mom, I'm an old man, I'm about to die. Why do you keep harassing me? You're my son. Well, find something for yourself to do. She says, you don't really understand, do you? I say, no, Mom, I just went to school. I'm stupid. I don't have any lived experience. And the point is, it's a wonderful purpose to have. You have like 3, 4, 5 kids coming out of you, and they're your son. You revolve around them. Now, what happens is, it's very complex because, the culture doesn't really produce men who are mature, and add technology to it, add capitalism to it, add the fast pace of life to it. It really takes us a long time to figure out exactly where we belong in a very, very complex, social space. And then you realize you got no mom, you got no dad, you got to go to school, you got to fend for yourself, you got to make some money. You date a few people, realize that most of the men are crummy. You also realize that you don't really have the capacity to stay in long-term relationships. By the time you have some psychological and emotional stability, you're like a 35-year-old woman. You've been on your own, highly individualized, and now you want to get together with another person. It's relationship, it's a team. And for the past 20 years, all you knew and all you've been trained to do is fend for yourself. And now you have to kind of divide your attention. Half for you, half for a companion you hardly know. By the time you get to be 35, 36, you have some individualized habits, and they're very, very difficult to overcome. And to live in a world made by men, when in Rome, do as Romans do, which is your emotions now are masculine. You have the same emotions that men do. You're as violent, you're as corrupt, you're as aggressive as men are. So, and it's going to take us some time to kind of adjust, and it's far too late now, to go back to the structure that kind of gave human beings meaning for 2,000 years or so. Everything has changed now. The idea, sometimes students ask, so how do we deal with no technology? Let's just get rid of technology. Are you kidding? That's a stupid question. If you really, really want to fast, abstain from technology, well, move to the forest, go to Yosemite, make sure you don't get any internet connection, and that's the thing. And there is nothing wrong with women participating in this crummy, useless world. It's going to take longer to, good morning, to become civilized, that's all. Thank God for Trader Joe's, lots of frozen food. I think retirement is very close. It's knocking. Dunya, do you have any questions?
Is this the same philosophy class I'm taking?
No, you're taking a social political philosophy class. This is just a philosophy class with the social or the political part. But they're all the same, really. You know, when I was in high school here in America, I thought, you know, the reason why the classes are so sucky is because it's just high school. Then when I started going to college, I realized that, well, I said to myself, well, the reason why these classes are so sucky is because it's college. And then when I went to a four-year school, I said, the reason why these classes suck is because it's just undergraduate. And then time passes, and I realized the same people who teach in high school are the same people who teach in colleges, and then the four-year schools, and the master's program, the PhD, the postdoc, they're all the same. You know, it's just a different title with the same nonsense. So, whatever questions you may have that is related to the other class, it's relevant to this class as well. Yeah, so if you have any questions, you can. But by the way, for those of you who may not know, this is Dunya. We met at a coffee shop, just ran into her. We got into a car accident. She asked for my insurance. I gave her my phone number. So she sent me a text saying, well, you know, if you let me take you out for a cup of coffee, you don't have to pay for the damages. I said, fine. So here she is. So she's a guest today. So you're welcome to ask any questions. I forgive this way. It's just after a while you stop giving a shit.
It's okay, I'm actually a bad driver, so maybe that might have been very like.
Well, if you tell me the make and color of your car, maybe I can ram into you.
You're too mean instead. Make me a buffer. You're too mean instead.
I am very selective. So anything you guys want to talk about, or should we just like go home?
He hasn't slept yet, so maybe we should.
What, you want me to sleep with him?
No, oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
I'm saying maybe we should go home.
Ugh, Americans.
Insane.
You just can't fix them. It's like a disease. Yeah, Oscar.
Yeah. So, what is moral, and where do we stand as society based on whatever that definition may be?
Oh,
Is it a set of
why can't
rules
classes
or
be
reflection
easy?
of our own behavior? I don't know.
yeah, okay. Hello, Isabel. I'll give you two stories, Oscar. And I'll probably forget your question after I start my ramblings. Jeremy, you okay, man? Why do you sit so far away? You have to sit at a place where I can see your face. If you sit there, leave your stuff there. Some of them look like thieves, but for the most part, they're okay. Yeah. Hello. Can I be blunt?
Please.
The question is stupid. It's a very, very important question. And it's a meaningful and a profound question. Just, I don't know if the question is practical. I came here when I was 13. I thought I was moral until I realized that we have no money for food. and we were living in Davis. So I would go to Lucky's and just with my backpack and steal food. There was a point my lying to the landlord just didn't work. So I broke every piece of the furniture and this is the 80s, apartments came furnished for the most part. I broke everything. And the end result was that I got on a bus, came to Sacramento, and slept on a bus bench for a few days. Then I got a job at Church's Fried Chicken. And I stole chicken, I stole money, I stole everything. And the point I'm trying to make, a good amount of what it means to be moral really depends on your station in life. You may be a Catholic and not believe in abortion, but you realize you're an addict, you realize you have no parents, you realize you have no money, no support system, no help, nothing. And all of a sudden, despite your very strong and profound religious views, you come to realize that perhaps giving birth to a child in your condition, in a world that doesn't really much care, maybe it would be a great crime. So you kind of step on the skull of God and you terminate the pregnancy. Okay, so let me just go on with the stories then. Leah. Hello. Oh, wait. I have something for you.
Thank you.
It's good to see you, Leah. Any other questions? Matt?
If you could do it again, would you have moved to America?
Yeah, America is a great country. I mean, first, it's a huge continent. That's number one. Second, the opportunities are endless. Third, where do you go? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Berkeley near the end of the semester. People leave brand new stuff out on the curb. And, I grabbed my entire tribe, the last 5 weeks of the semester, and we rent a big van, a U-Haul from Toys R Us. And we just roam the streets and we put the stuff in the truck. You can't find this in Europe. You can't find this in the Middle East, America is not good for Americans. But it's a great place for immigrants because immigrants come here when immigrants either by foot, by donkey, by plane, they come here because a good amount of their life has been crushed. Both physical life and emotional life. And when you get your emotional life crushed, you lose hope, you lose dreams. I mean, most of the vitality and just youthfulness that lives inside you. I don't know if you've seen this, the past few weeks, about 30, 40, 50,000 young people have just been killed in my country. And so this guy, it was a video clip on Telegram. A friend of mine from Iran sent it to me. And it's this guy on the bus with 50 people. He was singing the song that Dariush, beautiful singer, his voice is like silk, Matthew. And, he starts singing. And then everybody on the bus begins to cry because the song is about justice, about, what happens to tyrants, what happens to innocent, poor people. I haven't been there for about 30 years, but man, it's profoundly moving. And the point I'm trying to make, I think one of the things that should be a prerequisite for Americans, they need to be push to Africa or India or the Middle East or Mexico for like 10, 15, 20 years to really see the corruption and the poverty and the absence of opportunities and how despair is really the core philosophical perspective to life. Then you come to America. It's an amazing, amazing place, man. But then Trump and Jim Jordan, ICE. It's just, every conversation I have with my Persian friends, Matthew, America is getting messed up. It's such a great country. But Americans are just stupid, so there isn't much you can do. I'm not talking about you guys. You guys are very intelligent because you're taking my class. You go to the Middle East, language, it unifies people. Nobody talks about Super Bowl. Nobody gives a shit about Super Bowl. We don't have Taylor Swifts. When Iran was playing America World Cup, I think it was like 20 years ago. Now, you guys look at this game simply as a soccer game. For us, it was about religion. It was about politics. It was about military. It was about pride. It was about like 5,000 years of history. And I gotta tell you, man, when Iran scored the first goal, and we won, by the way, for those of you who may not know, when we won scored the first goal, 3 people sitting next to us watching the match, they passed out. Because it wasn't about soccer. It was kind of like what Malcolm X had categorized white, blue-eyed people as the devil. Every white, blue eye you see, embodiment of Satan. And that's what the soccer match was about. And when you come here, you realize first, sure, the country is big, then there are so many items on the menu and everybody's speaking English, but words are they have different meanings and definitions and they're connected to different things. And all of a sudden you realize language is supposed to connect people, unify people. It creates further fragmentation. I love pizza and I love my girlfriend and I love my country and I love fucking. It just makes no sense. How could you use I'm getting angry now. Let me think about Eckhart Toilet to calm myself down. So I was going to tell you a story about Rumi first. Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi Balkhi. And one of his stories about, I suppose, morality, about what happens to us in an environment where no one and nothing cares for us, really. It's, one of the things I think that's missing in the Western narrative, and by Western I simply mean America. Leah,
The test is I have to be there on time.
do you have a cheat sheet? Don't get caught. Just get an A. Who's the instructor? I can talk to them.
Abraham Reyes.
Is it a he or she?
He.
Cute?
No.
Forget it. I'm not going to speak. I value my sensory inputs, There was a very solitary, introverted guy around the 19th century. His name is Friedrich Nietzsche. We've talked about him a couple of times. For those of you who may not have seen a picture of him, my recommendation is go online and take a look at one of his pictures, and you can usually see his image with this huge mustache. One goes this way, the other goes that way. And his girlfriend, he had 2 girlfriends. On his first date, he asked girlfriend number 1, will you marry me? You're talking about the 19th century, you don't live together under the same roof. You don't date for like 6, 7 months to figure out who this person is. That's not the way the 19th or, prior to that works. And he gets rejected and the date ends. He goes out with the second woman, and on the second date, he asks, will you marry me? And again, he's told no. And then he comes to the conclusion that perhaps getting married is not for him. Some people argue that he was gay, I don't really know. But his first girlfriend and his philosophical companion for a few weeks asked him once, Frederick, why not shave your mustache? If not shave, at least trim a little. And in a very poetic way, he looked at her and said, sometimes you look into someone's eyes and you can see their soul. But, people are disrespectful. They look at your soul without any permission. You haven't given them permission. And I realized that there is something about me that's very inviting, but it's always the wrong people who are invited. And I don't even invite them, they invite themselves. So I decided to grow a mustache, a huge mustache. So instead of people looking at my eyes and seeing my soul, they can simply see my mustache and be distracted by it. And I know that Nietzsche didn't much know about Islam, especially about Sufism, because had he known much about this particular tradition, he would have known that there was a tradition long before he was born. It's called the Malamatis. Malamatis had come to realize that people, for the most part, are fools, in the sense that, life is tough. You got to take care of finances, you got to take care of mortgage, you got to take care of your kids, you got to take care of your parents, you got to take care of the certain pleasures that just kind of come upon you. Life is just troublesome. And so they had come to realize that one of the best things you could ever do for yourself in your life is find a way to liberate yourself from the judgments of other people. Don't care about what they think about you, how they see you. Free yourself from that. And there was this guy by the name of Uwais Qarani. I know I'm just throwing out these names that are unfamiliar to you guys, but they're just good stories. That Muhammad, this is the Prophet of Islam, before he was going to die, he gives his cloak. And I don't know if you guys know the significance of the outfit that's worn by teachers. My dad is 93. Every time we talk, I say, Dad, remember, I want your underwears. I want to wear them when you die. It reminds me of who and what you are and how I was created. And we always, get a good laugh. So he had given his cloak, Muhammad had, and said, give my jacket to this particular. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ilham, they told me that you were sick. I was going to Google your name, figure out where you live, so I could send you some flowers and wish you good health. But then I realized that you're from Yemen and your brother may find my house and come and slit my throat, so I changed my mind. It's good to see you. My apologies, I know you guys signed up for a real philosophy class and I'm just throwing out jokes. But anyways, long story short, Muhammad gives his cloak to Omar and Ali and says, go give this to this guy whose name is Uwais, lives in a place called Qarani. And so after many, many days of walking, they eventually get to this place called, this city called Qaran, and they say, do you guys know this guy named Uwais? And people say, why do you want to look for this man? He's a very strange fellow. When people laugh, he cries. When people cry, he laughs. And that's the Malamati tradition, that do not put too much stock in the way people see you and the way people judge you. People are confused. And, don't give the judgments of confused people too much value. So, I borrow the story from this man again named Friedrich Nietzsche. For those of you who came in late, I think his story is missing some components, so I'm just going to add some to it myself. For those of us in this class who have children, one of those people is me, the kids come out and they are naked, aren't they, Thea? You could see the whole thing, penises and vaginas everywhere. Not an ounce of shame or guilt that they are naked. They are like the old epic of Gilgamesh, a man named Enkidu. In the Sumerian language, the name means the most innocent of mankind. He's organic. He's instinctual. You know, he pees in public and doesn't care. Actually finds it fun and enjoyable. He goes around the house and just breaks things. He climbs the walls. You know, I tell him, son, I have cancer, I'll die tomorrow. He laughs, says, I love you, Dad, see you around. You know. And there is something to be said about the innocence that all of us have at the moment of birth. And it stays with us for a number of months. If you're lucky, for years, depending on your social environment, your familial environment. And in the language of Nietzsche, we're all born like lambs. You know, you're not made into a shish kebab just yet. You're just lamb. You know, when something pains you, you cry. Tears roll down and you have no shame. When something pains you, you scream for your mom's hug. And you don't sit back and say, wow, codependency is bad. You know. And you innocently go to your dad and say, Dad, what's sex? You know, it's just a word. And you call your dad and say, Dad, you know, what the shit did you eat this morning? And then, you know, they haven't yet been contaminated by the social structure. So as they use this foul language, for them, it's actually fun and it's quite innocent. For the father who's concerned about the future, that this may in fact be the way they're going to speak for the rest of their life in a social setting that's quite punishing. It concerns me. I don't see the innocence. All I'll see is worry. Then something really devastating happens. As parents, you have no choice but to be worried and concerned. So you teach them ethics and morals, Oscar, do's and don'ts. You're black, born in 2025, and someone tells you that, listen, you know, the white man did A, B, C, D, and all of a sudden you realize that society does something quite horrifying. It puts on your shoulder history that you never asked for. And you have to carry that history. I'm Persian. Speak the language, sing the language, read the language. And I'm burdened by 5,000 years of history and I can't shake it off. She's black. She's burdened by a history that she had no hands in creating. But she reads books and she feels burdened. You signed up for this class only to get an A or a B or a C. And I burden you with these, I suppose, heavy ideas or thoughts. They're emotionally charged. And you realize that at a certain age, people make you responsible for things that you don't want to be responsible for. I don't want to do math. I don't care what Einstein said about the importance of math. I don't want to stop at a traffic light. I mean, I get to campus around 4 in the morning. There is not a soul in the street. The light is red. There is no one there. But there are cameras up there. And I don't want to pay my money to a government that doesn't care for me. So I stop and I wait and I wait and I wait for 20 minutes Not a single car on the road. But I wait. And I realize that politics and society creates inside me fear, anxiety, dread, despair, confusion. I didn't ask for any of them. You shouldn't lie, shouldn't cheat. Some of you are going to use AI in writing your essays. The truth is, if you had a relationship with these ideas, I mean intimate relationship, using AI would be considered cheating. It's like cheating on a companion. But you don't have a relationship with these ideas. You're burdened by the responsibility society has put on your shoulders without you ever asking for them. What else can you do except to have ChatGPT write this essay for you? More power to you, by the way. And then, like me, you go up to the 7th floor and you ask your supervisors, come on, man, I need more classes. We have part-timers. And they give you this bullshit language, concepts. At a certain point, you realize that all of us, we're no longer lambs. We're like camels. You know, we walk into a life, it's desert filled with sand, no meaning, it's hollow. Nothing good grows. به کشت خاطرم جز غم نرویه، به باغم جز گل ماتم نرویه، به صحرای دل بی حاصل ما گیاه ناامیدی هم نرویه. You know, it's one of the things that the ancient Greece was really, really good at. Sophocles' tragedies. All lambs will suffer a life that they never asked for. You know, you marry a guy, you love a guy or a gal. You do everything for this man or this woman. And in the end, you find that he's been seeing another. You know. And that's what the Greeks wanted to impart to us. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter what you do in life. Shit happens. It has nothing to do with you. Bad things happen to good people. All of us are born good. We are like lambs, but we are turned into camels. And for those of you in this class who have ever been to the Middle East, and if you've seen the life of a camel, it carries loads given to it by other people. And if you've ever seen the path that the camel has to walk through, it's a desert, no water, scorching hot, no sleep, gets whipped. Why do we become camels? Well, most of us are fearful of our future, and rightly so. We are creatures of comfort. We want security. We want stability. We want money. We want power. We want control. And there is only way to attain them. Not by dropping school and going to Yosemite thinking that you're going to live a hippie life and it's going to be happiness ever after. No. You have to live in society. And society is going to burden you. You're going to follow its do's and don'ts. You have no choice. Some of you in this class should have been done with school many, many, many decades ago. But you wanted to continue your innocence. Hello. You know, you want to go out and scream and have a good time with life. But eventually you realize that life burdens you. Psychology burdens you. Your physical body burdens you. You can't just be a freeloader for the rest of your life. It doesn't work. You come back to society. And there's a good amount of conflict. Is it worth giving up my innocence? It's a stupid question because you got no choice. Now, not all of us, some of us, well, all of us, let me take that back. We have these moments where you look yourself in the mirror, say, I just don't want to carry the history anymore. It's not mine. I didn't create it. I don't want to play this script anymore. And these are inspired moments that get you really sad and depressed. Maybe Pindar was right, the Greek poet. Maybe we only really get married because psychologically something about us tells us, Amir, you're going to get old, you're going to get sick. Make sure you get a companion. Amir, loneliness is not fun. That's the only reason. Even in great love relationships, if you examine it very carefully, you realize for the most part, it's profoundly transactional. You give, you take. You give, you take. You give, and if there is nothing to take, there is conflict. Some of you in this class, I've had these moments. This guy is stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He keeps telling jokes, saying stupid things. I'm going to drop the class. But all of a sudden, the fear created by society, manufactured emotions, come into your psyche. And you realize, well, you have to carry what society has created. It's not going to feel good, but you got no other choice. There is this very, very, very special group of people. They don't have to be whipped like camels so that their knees can be broken or bent so that they could be offloaded. At a certain point, whether it's midlife crisis, whether they realize that the pressure of living in society is really just gives you ulcer and cancer and just kills you. You say, you know what? I just want to unload. I don't care about the value system of society. I want my innocence back. But there are two kinds of innocence. For those in this class who've read the New Testament, unless you become a child, you will not enter the kingdom of God. For those of us who have kids, kids are innocent, but they're also very stupid. What Jesus should have included in the footnote of that phrase is that a mature sense of innocence is good. That leads to the kingdom of God. Not a sort of innocence that's stupid, where eventually you force your parents to punish you, that you have understood a few things. You don't undress in front of just anyone. You undress when you trust a companion. You know that they're not going to hurt you, harm you. This other stage in Nietzsche's story is that you get this sense that you have this understanding of this picture of life, that life burdens all of us, things we don't ask for, and yet we are forced to carry. At a certain point, you realize you no longer desire to carry what society gives you. You raise your hand and you say, I signed up for a philosophy class. This is fucked up. I paid money for it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the system says. I don't care how many degrees you got. I am interested in the love of wisdom. Teach that to me. Now that takes a lot of courage. 30 people in the room, they're all going to look at you weird. I have power over you. I have power over your future. And yet you don't care about any of that. Now that is a good innocence to have. Will society punish you? Absolutely. Will you be an outcast? Definitely. Will your future be in jeopardy? Yes. But what you have is your innocence. As James Joyce would say, paradise lost is no more, you have found it. You have found happiness in pain. عشق در دریای غم غمناک نیست. If you love the right people for the right reasons, I mean, you love your dad. He's got stage 10 cancer. It's a painful scene. Well, you're happy because you're there loving him and helping him. How could you be happy in pain? Now, of course, I haven't really talked about the conflict between being a camel and between realizing that you've become a camel and also your desire to unload all the burdens. I mean, there is this battlefield going on inside you. And for those of you in this class who have taken a religion class or Muslims, or this summer may take a religion class from me, by the way, I've been teaching this religion class during summertime, 6 to 9, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in this very classroom for the past 22 years. It's never been canceled. So just in case you guys have nothing to do this summer and you're tired of your companions, sign up for the class. There's no work. Because I know you, give me some money, I'll give you an A. Now, Oscar. You gotta know how it feels when no one has any power over you anymore. When you're not guided by anything. The confusion, the anxiety, the despair. And even in this class, I've read the life story of Don Juan, not the Don Juan who taught Carlos Castaneda, but the Don Juan who's addicted to sex. You haven't, have you? A man who is just bored and depressed and sad because he can't find meaning. As T.S. Eliot would say, dry voice, hollowed soul, walking through dry grass, going nowhere, doing nothing. Don Juan has sex because it's the only thing that can give him 5 seconds of pleasure and meaning. The rest of life, it's like a desert. When you realize, as Siddhartha did in Hermann Hesse's book, Siddhartha, that life is a big lie, and your senses add to the lies. And all these narratives filled with lies are created. And you buy these narratives only to realize that the world has deceived you, you have deceived you, your best friends have deceived you. And you throw away all these narratives. And then you become the stupid guy named Socrates. You walk around. Why are you taking a class? Well, I want to be educated. Really? Education means to bring out. Is that what happens when you go into the classroom? What exactly is it that your instructors bring out? Anxiety for a quiz? Is that what the function of education is? A more pronounced desire for money and social status? Or is it the retrieval of your soul, creativity, intelligence, awareness, mindfulness? And for those of you in this class who have ever tried to bring anything out, it's because it's lost, it's forgotten, it's under an avalanche of shit. For those of us in this class who've been in long-term relationships, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Once in a while, your companion sits next to you and says to you, you know, what are you going to do for Valentine's? I know that's exactly my point. Valentine's? The hell Valentine's? I don't care about this Christian saint. Hello, Tyler. And what she's saying is, what happened to us? Can you write me a poetry, 2 lines of poems, the way you used to? And what he's saying or she's saying is this: our relationship is under an avalanche of life's politics. Bring out that passion. Where the hell do you go to find it? How do you find it? Can passion be manufactured? Can you bring back a passion, i.e. love, that's been contaminated by the politics of life? Can you go against the organism of life, which is the following? The more exposure to anything, the more saturation. The more saturation, the less interesting it's going to be. For those of you in this class who are like professionals in the realm of sex, you meet someone, you fall in love with them. And that passion, love, it has its own language, and it's not through words. It's through two bodies grinding against each other. There comes a point where that language no longer works. Now you actually want to sit and use words. Talk about various aspects of life. And you know, Socrates goes around trying to remind all of us that we have become camels. The genius that lives inside us has been held hostage by a society, a system that cares nothing for us. Now, let me diverge and tell you a different story. And I'll share with you a little bit about the life of Socrates. His life is a little under a fog of mystery. No one really knows who this guy was, like Jesus Christ, if he actually existed. But what little I have read, Socrates was on this quest to find eudaimonia, 2 words, which means the demon of happiness. It's a demonic force. And we say it's demonic because it doesn't come from down here, it has to come from above. By chance, or maybe hands of fate, I don't really know, he runs into this old woman whose name is Diotima. She lives in a hut. She's not married. She's got no kids. She's very much like one of those temple prostitutes in the ancient world, Iraq, i.e. Samaria, where parents send their daughters at a very, very young age to be trained in the art of love. They get to know biology, these 10, 12-year-old young girls. They get to know psychology. And if they're made in the right way, the gods above come down and occupy their soul. And the task of these prostitutes, i.e. proficient creators of love, is to remind the men when they bed them that sex is not just about having a climax. Sex is not just about having an orgasm. Sex is about finding your soul. And it's not a quickie. It's not an hour. It's not 2 hours. It's not 5 seconds. It goes on for days. Diotima, when he runs into Socrates, or she runs into Socrates, or vice versa, there is something you need to know about these very, very special relationships. And I don't really know how it happens, or why they happen, how they exist, and how they come about. Something in you awakens upon seeing another person. Now, in a very fancy, hippish language, I would say that you have found a soulmate. But a soulmate doesn't really much care about your body, except that it can only be used to retrieve wisdom or retrieve soul from it. So Diotima and Socrates meet. And Socrates says, I think I have found my teacher. And Diotima says, I think I have found my student. Now, one of the things about teachers and students is the following. Teachers want to hand off their baton to someone. They don't want to die and carry their wisdom, in the grave. So a task of a teacher is forever look for a worthy student. And that is tough. If you look at our human history for the past, let's say 5,000 years of written language, we've only had maybe 10, 15, 20 messiahs. Malcolm X being one, Freud being another, Karl Marx being another, of course, the ancient sages, Muhammad, the Buddha, Jesus, Moses. So society or the human being or humanity doesn't really create the space where many sages are created. Now, for Socrates to be able to receive what Diotima has, he needs to fall in love. One of the things about love is like a Dyson vacuum cleaner. For those of you who've ever gone to Costco, and they have like this aisle of different vacuums, corded as well as battery operated. Dyson just came out with this brand new vacuum, $780, currently on sale for $699. Love. It's like a Dyson vacuum cleaner. It erases your history. It erases your ambitions. It removes your desires. You become hollow. But you've become hollow in the hands of a very, very proficient human being, Diotima, or Shams and Rumi, or Jesus and John, or Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. You need that. Without having a clean interior, you can't receive anything. And just in case you do, it's going to be contaminated by the stuff already there. If that's a little too difficult to understand or too esoteric for some of you, let me give it to you in this way. If you're on a date and the person sitting across the table from you keeps talking to you about his or her ex, they are still filled with their ex. And you say, man, do I really need to compete with the memories of this ex for the next 5 years? I can't do this. I'm out. You want to go out with someone who is... Hello, Alexis. How are you? I'm well, thank you. Thank you. Do you have any questions, or should I just continue just BSing my way through this? Oh, yeah?
I have a question. It's reminding me of the topics we discussed in 101 in my online class. We talk about Marcus Aurelius. He's a ruler who's ruled for 19 years. And he says, well, there's nothing I can do about feeling this way, and there's nothing I can change about it. So he does what he can to stay moral. So we talk a lot about stoicism. That's what it reminded me of. Sorry, I don't know.
Marcus Aurelius. An idiot.
He has the power to do anything, to corrupt, to anything. But he's like one of the rarest rulers.
Well, now that you have made me angry,
He says there's nothing you can do about it, by the way.
there was a tradition long before Islam that existed in the Persian world. It's called Zoroastrianism. For those of you who may have difficulty remembering that tradition, Zorro, Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins. You guys seen the movie Zorro?
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
You had to do that. Now I think about Angelina. Now I have no choice but to think about Angelina Jolie. Now, Zorro, ass. You guys know what an ass is? We all have a couple. And a train, Zoroastrian. Human beings go through these 3 layers or steps towards maturity. The first is right thinking. If I was to give that or explain that in a language that all of us can kind of relate to, it'd be the following. You have to go on 50, 60, 70 dates, and you got to be about 30, 40, 50, and you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror to see the wrinkles, to see all the hair that you lost, the vitality that's no longer there, to be forced to sit and ask some really difficult questions of yourself, and also come to realize that you are getting older, and getting old by yourself is not fun, getting sick by yourself is not fun. And then you go to eharmony.com and you write down your profile and you begin to ask very, very specific questions. You no longer romanticize life. For the first time in 50 years, you know the sort of questions you need to ask. And that's one of the things you need to understand about us human beings. And that's one of the reasons why someone like Sophocles has to be honored so greatly. That for the most part, life for us is going to be tragedy, because tragicomedy really, because it takes us such a long time to be able to think the right way. You know, and when you think the right way, your perception are cleansed to some extent. You begin to ask the right questions. You begin to speak about the right things that really matter. If you happen to be a Buddhist monk, one of the trainings that you have to engage in is, or observe, is that, you know, if you have nothing interesting to say, observe the noble silence. Do not gossip. You know, if being mute is too burdensome of a task, maybe you're not made to be a monk. Maybe you're not made to be a Buddhist. Maybe you're just not made to be a mature human being. Just gossip your life away. There is nothing wrong with that. You know, there is a story about Saint Francis of Assisi where, you know, he's walking around with his students, his disciples, and Assisi has gotten himself to a stage where he no longer cares about money. He no longer cares about reputation or fame. He no longer cares about companionship or sex. And as they're walking around trying to preach the gospel, one of his disciples looks to his right and sees this woman and sees some cleavage or some skin. And the disciple is unable to remove his gaze. And Assisi looks at his disciple and says to him, you know, no one is forced to be a monk. If you find yourself to be a person of the world, that is fine, go do it. It's okay. And the disciple walks away and gets married and has children. And the point I'm trying to make, despite all of these ideas, for some of you being so exotic, ideas may be exotic and they may inspire and excite us, but it doesn't mean they fit us. It may be that we are only at a stage where we can listen and enjoy, very much like watching a movie. I watch Al Pacino. It doesn't mean I want to be an actor. Because deep down I'm shy and reserved. I don't want to be on a stage. Okay? So that's the first stage, right thinking. And I don't know how people go about becoming proficient in that particular craft. The truth is, Moses failed, Jesus failed, Muhammad failed, the Buddha failed, Malcolm X failed. If you look at all of our human sages, the only thing they really tried to do was to cleanse the doors of our perception, as Aldous Huxley would say. You know, help us to look at life the right way, but it's difficult. There are too many obstacles, too many things to cross over. For those of us in this class who are able to think the right way, whatever that may mean, the next step is to speak the stuff that lives inside your head. You guys sit back and watch and listen to James Baldwin. Fantastic. Jordan Peterson. Fantastic. I'm not saying they have anything good to offer in a very practical way, but the way they're able to express right thinking through language, it's amazing. If you have seen the wheel of life in the Buddhist tradition, or one of the principles of Naqshbandi order, Khalvat dar Anjuman, be amongst people, but don't lose your identity. But without having one, it means that society will give you one, and that's not the identity you want. Go somewhere, bring your soul up, play with it, enjoy it, ultimately come to realize you are a social animal. Go back into society. But you go back with your soul. And you will never allow your soul to be contaminated by the social structure. So, for those of you who may be getting low scores on your essays, and you may be tempted to come to my office and say, so, how do I write a really, really good essay that gets an A? Say, listen, spend the next 20 years thinking about things the right way, looking at things the right way. And you can't really think about things the right way. First, you have to be able to see, and then observe, then take notes, then study those notes, and then understand those notes. Then the conflicts will come about. Look, I may be your dad, and you may hate me. How do I cleanse that perception? I'm going to sit you down during one of those moments where I'm sober, and I'm going to tell you that when I was your age too, my father and my grandfather beat the hell out of me on a daily basis. When I was 3, I had no innocence left inside me. And as a kid, I need to express how I feel on the inside. Don't got language for that. You need a toolbox to express. At the age of 2, what toolbox do I got? Nothing. So I drank and I smoke. And I did to you what happened to me. Moments of frustration, I beat the hell out of you. Moments of frustration, I drank, I smoked. Now you have knowledge about who your father is and what he went through and the tools he didn't have and the addictions he cultivated. What are you going to do now? You carry 2 burdens now. They're your own emotions that have a history and the knowledge that I just imparted. You want to feel sorry for me, but the hate becomes the obstacle. And you hate for yourself for continuing to hate me despite knowing what I went through. If you're able to perfect expression of right thinking, comes the last and the very, very, very difficult step. Put your thoughts and your words into action. And there are only a handful of people who have done that. You have every right to listen to your intuition, which says to you, this class sucks. Come to my office. Express your feelings well. If you're able to do that, I will give you an A, and you don't need to come to class. But I need to be satisfied with your expression. And when I see you not coming to class, that's the action that you've taken. But you won't be able to express it. Because you may come to realize this class may actually be good, you just don't have the maturity. And then I may push you and ask you why you're not mature enough to sit in this class and suffer boredom. So that's Marcus Aurelius. All these books, bumper stickers. There comes a point when you become like Socrates, profoundly arrogant, going around town asking people difficult questions, making people feel bad about who and what they are. And something really interesting happens to you as you realize that at the very core of life, life has nothing to offer people. You begin to develop arrogance. You can checkmate people. It's not going to be a problem for you, like Socrates. How the hell are you going to tame the arrogance that now lives inside you? Now, English is not really the best language for philosophy. In the Islamic tradition, you have three egos. One is immature, one is semi-mature, and the other is very, very mature. Nafsul mutma'ineh. Read the Gospel of John, for those of you who are interested in understanding what a good, healthy ego looks like. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus refers to himself twice. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus refers to himself twice. In the Gospel of Luke, he refers to himself 5 times. In the Gospel of John, he refers to himself almost 50 times. I am the bread. I am the life. Before Abraham, before Adam, only through me. I am this. I am that. Now that is a guy who knows who and what he is. You don't need to go to a church. Gaze upon me and you will feel what a church looks like. You don't need to read a book. Just listen to me. How do you slay an ego that wants to become a tyrant? A healthy ego talks, comes to realize, well, the person simply does not have the ears to listen, and walks away without making the person feel bad. There is this wonderful story by this Afghani man named Idris Shah. There are some mixed reviews about this man, but he's got lots of wonderful books out there. He's on Audible. One of the best books that he has is called Learning How to Learn. And he says when he was younger, he went to his father's study without permission. He grabbed the book, came out, but forgot to close the door. The father looks at Idris and says to him, "Son, I think I went into the study, but I forgot to close the door. Can you go there and close it for me?" And the point of the story is the following. If you look at your son and say, "God damn it, you went into my study without my permission and you left the goddamn door open. Now go close it." Whatever relationship you may have built with your kid, it could be destroyed by the way you speak to him. But he doesn't have the ears and he doesn't have the proper observation. So you play with him. You say, "I left the door open. Can you please help me close it?" At a certain point, Nietzsche argues this dragon of arrogance comes forth. And you know what dragons are good for? They breathe out fire. Destroy everything. You come to class sane and you leave insane. You're married and then you file for divorce. You're social, you become asocial. These are not good things to do to people. At a certain point, you gain some maturity. Another dragon comes about, but it's not really a dragon, it's a lion, the king of the jungle. Devours a dragon. But this lion brings back something that you've always been looking for. A maturity that's filled with understanding and innocence. And once this lion devours the dragon, you go back to what you've always been, a lamb. But a lamb who's been a camel, a lamb who's been a dragon, a land who's suffered arrogance, and a land who's become a lion? That's the question to your whatever. Are there any questions or comments before we go? I think it's time, no?
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see all of you. Have a nice weekend. For those of you who have class on Monday, I think someone, it's President's Day. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
So,
No class, right?
yeah, no class on Monday.